So I was asked to come here and give you a little brief. We're not searching investors. We are, well, always, of course, we're a public company. But Kalle Ridderstråle has been on our chairman of the board for many, many years and participated in the entire travel. And it's not me who built the culture, it's we. So, and that's a very important thing. Now, how unfortunately I said yes, and I didn't think very well. And then our chief of financial market said, you have a quiet period. So I was not really allowed to tell you a lot on this one, because we have our quarterly report 2 days later on Friday. But I will tell you about the culture of the company, a little how we built it, and how we operate in what we have achieved at Sectra. Sectra, let's see. Yeah. Brief history of Sectra is that we're founded in 1970. That was ways before me or anyone present at the company now. We're founded by a professor at the University of Linköping, Ingmar Ingvarsson, 3 years doctoral students, to do encryption for the minuten, also the ATMs of Sweden. Sweden is very often first in, very trigger happy for new technology. And ATMs was first invented here, and now they are all over the world. But the banks who implemented it said we need encryption between the machine and the central bank. And there was no entity in Sweden who could do encryption, but a small group of research in Linköping, and they founded Sectra to cope with it. So it stands for Secure Transmission, Sectra. That's what we are. I started medical operations in 1990 after I did my PhD. I led then the medical side of Sectra until 7 years ago when I became the CEO, when my predecessor, and we have about the same amount of shares in the company, Jan-Olof Bryer, he resigned or retired, and then I took over all of it. Medical today is about 85-90% of what we do. We're self-financed. We did not take in any external capital before we did our IPO in 1999. And when we did the IPO, we didn't emit a lot of capital or shares for capital. We actually sold quite a bit of our own, and we've been self-financed ever. We have never had a loss a year since 1983. Founders still in control, as we did not take in a lot of external capital. We're still in control. The founders, together with A shares and B shares, control about 54% of the vote. Capital-wise, we're about 30%. And I'm the largest shareholder today. Jan-Olof is very close to me in number of shares. All management are shareholders. That's one of my requirements on our management. They have to buy shares, no options, no fiddling like that. They have to buy shares on the stock exchange. But we give them a little extra money for it. We participate in that program with salary, but they have to buy it and they have to keep it, which is a good thing. Today we're at 700 employees in about 19 countries. And down there on the left, you see a little younger version of myself with our first X-ray machines when I was a software guy and had hair still to cope. I'm telling my sons that when your brain grows big enough, it pushes out all the hair. My sons who still have their hair left do not agree completely with that. The main business areas is IT for medical imaging. As I said, we do the systems that take care of X-ray images after the X-ray machine. If you break your leg here in Stockholm, all hospitals and health providers in Stockholm, except Arrangerades, is our customers. We have that is not so easy as it sounds. It's not just keep track of images. You have to keep track of diagnosis, images, what type of images. You do all the manipulations, and these images are large. Stockholm produces like a petabyte a year. Now you have terabyte, and then 1,000 terabytes is a petabyte. It's a lot of data. Lately, we also started to do pathology, microscopy. Microscopy is the last area of healthcare that is not yet digitized because the images are even larger. One of those images might be 1.5 gigabyte. And you typically have 100, 130 in an exam, which means you have a terabyte per patient. Now, that creates a heck of a lot of data, and in order to cope with that, you have to build very special technology. And we've done that. Sweden is today world leading in digital pathology, and we have about 80% of the market in Sweden. And that's kind of the next wave of digitization of healthcare. We still do IT for cybersecurity. We provide the Swedish government, Swedish military, NATO, not being a NATO country, that's unique, with an EU, all the EU emissaries, which is EU embassies, have our encryption systems. And we are qualified to top secret and secret level encryption, which means we have to build systems today that we can think with all available knowledge will not be decryptable, crackable in 70 years. Now I look back 70 years and think where computers were then. And then you have to be very careful what algorithms you use for encryption. But that's about 10% of the company today. And now what have happened over the years? This is our revenue since we started, or they started 78, we started medical about here. And then we had our problems during the years, and Kalle saw us through a couple of them. We had a very, very, very big collaboration with Philips. Philips PACS. PACS is our IT systems for medical images. Philips actually was our sole distributor outside of Sweden. Sold us worldwide, then they came to us with more or less there were 60% of our turnover, and we had 100% cost, and we did not have 40% margin. So they came to us when the business grew a little reasonably big and said, we will buy you. And we were listed, and me and Jan-Olof say, okay, that was interesting, we might not sell. So what's your bid? No, we will buy you, because if we stop buying, you'll die. And we will not buy, you will not, no premium, you will buy at stock value and just your shares, me and Jan-Olof. So we're not a general bid for the company. And we said, fuck you. That almost killed us. That was that dip. We had to fire 40 people. An entrepreneurial-led culture companies firing people is very hurtful. It hurts. It hurts the entire culture. But we managed. Today we're bigger than Philips in this business, and that's kind of nice. It was a special good feeling to digitize Eindhoven University Hospital. And then we thought we were good at building hardware. We built a mammography device. This was the best mammography device in the world, by far. But it was not us. You know, sir, people called from Germany and said, we had a water-cooled system. We're not good. We're a software company. And they called us from Germany and said, we have a gray algae growing in your machine. Now, software guys, they service everything over internet. You cannot take away algae from a machine over internet. So it was not us. We sold that to actually to Philips again, and then it took off again. We concentrated on software we know. The average annual return on investment for the original investment has been 36% CAGR over 40 years in a row. How did we do it besides luck? Because you have to have luck. It's like Napoleon said to Bonaparte. Have you ever read Herman Lindqvist's book about Napoleon? If you haven't read it, read it. It's very, very fascinating. When Bonaparte and another general had come back, and the other general lost, and Bonaparte won his deal, the other general lost. Said, "Oh, Bonaparte was only lucky. That's why he won his battle." And Bonaparte said, "I only deal with generals who are lucky," and that's it. So you have to have luck as well. So I'll tell you a little about the profile and philosophy. If you want to build a successful company, you have to work with the culture. Yeah, it doesn't work otherwise. You have to get people on the boat. You can't do it yourself. First, how do we select markets? A market must be big enough. That's a problem with a lot of startups today. You aim and you work like crazy for a world market that's 150 million kronor total. That's nuts. You have to aim for a big enough market. And profitable growth is easier in markets that grows. People forget that as well sometimes. If the market grows, you don't have to fight so much with price. Ideal growth markets are forced to grow by external factors. There is no way but growth in some markets. It has to grow. And don't waste your life on small markets with no growth. We are in cybersecurity. It's forced to grow. It has to grow. We are getting so much IT issues and so much sensitivity in the society. It has to grow. And we are positioned in healthcare for the elderly people, which has to grow as well, because we're getting too many elderly people. So society has to invest. And that is not coincidental. That is by design. Staff. It begins with hire for attitude. We stole that. Steal with pride, I think Henrik Svanberg from Ericsson said once to his people when they tried to invent everything themselves. So we steal with pride. We're happy with that. IBM had hire for attitude, train for skill. We added ability because we need smart people. So we recruit young people, good attitude, and I'll tell everyone, if you recruit the people you want on the other side of the counter when your car breaks down in the car garage, it's going to be fine. So we do that. I personally interview every single one as a last interview. If people say you're nuts, you have 800 people, and I say no, there's nothing more important in the company. Now, I heard the other day that Google, Sergey Brin interviewed everyone up until there were 10,000 people. So you can still do it for a while, and they still scout for average people. This is crucial. People forget. If you get the wrong people on the bus, it doesn't matter if you're the best manager on the planet, you will not succeed. If you get the right people on the bus, you can be a lousy manager who work out fine anyways. Getting the right people is crucially important. We spend a lot of time doing that. And then continues with culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that's a quote by some famous guru. I wrote that some famous guru when I showed this image first, and then it was fun, so I kept it. And now I forgot who it was. But some of the famous gurus said it. If you have everything in manuals, you end up with so much manuals in process that no one will read them. So no one will follow them anyways. And that's a big problem in society today. We have code for listed companies, and we have all this stuff. And you have manuals and manuals and manuals. And no one reads them, especially the people you want in the company. They don't like them. The people who like to read them is not the people you want. I'll tell you, it's a wrong frame of mind. And therefore you have to work culture. People have to take right decisions by themselves without reading manuals. And then you have to be very careful about punishing mistakes, because if you punish mistakes, people get scared and they do nothing. Because punishment times the probability that it fails is too large compared to the award if you do well and you succeed. So the average outcome is negative. So then people are rational. They don't do anything. They call the manager. Nothing happens. Customers get angry. You have to be very, very careful about punishing mistakes. First time. Second time people do the same mistake, you can have a little problem. Then you need to keep staff happy. This is just new out of the presses. We made this only 1 week ago. We were voted to be the 3rd best employer in the country. This is critical. You have to keep people happy as well. And this is anonymous, done by our own employees. And do not forget to pay your lunch. Customers has to be happy. That's number 1. But doesn't come without happy employees. In the US, they have, Frost & Sullivan or J.D. Powers. J.D. Powers evaluates the quality of cars. So it's always the Toyota and Lexus is up there, and then Volvo fights, between position 10 and 30, goes up and down a little bit. And that's how customers are satisfied with the cars they acquire. Americans are very happy with those examinations of customer surveys for quality. And there is institutes, and the people who buy systems, they buy these reports. They don't trust marketing. They're too overloaded with it. So in the US, they have an institute called CLASS. CLASS is to make fun of the word best in class, which is for American students, is important. So CLASS is the name of the institute. It's in Mormon Institute in Utah, Salt Lake City. And they do evaluation of IT systems for medical. That's the only thing they do. And in our niche, have the happiest customers in the US for 6 years in a row. That is crucially important for us. We can't fight GE. Our competition is GE, Siemens, Philips, Agfa, and Toshiba, and Canon. Now, they have more marketing budget than we have revenue. Now, if you're going to fight with these people, you better be niched, and you have to fight with something they have difficulty to follow you in. And customer quality is, in fact, such an area. So we have, for 6 consecutive years, had the happiest customers in all of the United States, large hospitals, in the thing we do. 4 years in a row, they measured it globally, and we won all 4, then they stopped it. So that is the core of the company. If you get that right, you don't have to spend so much on marketing. And you get that right by culture. You don't get it right by process and writing manuals. You need that as well. We are medical. It's over-regulated by the FDA and people like that, but not more than necessary. Quality is profitable. People forget it. I've been on situations where other companies, I met other guys, we have to design so it breaks by itself after 8 years we can sell another one. I think that is profoundly short-sighted. I think that is profoundly wrong because customers will see it and they will get angry with you one day. Shareholders, this I present on our annual meetings. If you have happy customers, happy employees, reasonable persevere, have to be stubborn. There was a very interesting article in Dagens Industri today about Jeff Bezos. Stubborn. Do mistakes and just go on. Learn from them. Reasonable, you have to have cost control. I never go business class over the Atlantic. Won't happen. If I do, I upgrade with points, but never pay for it. Because if I do it, I have to have an argument with everyone in the company why they can't do it. And that's ridiculous. It doesn't work. And I don't need rules if I go back, because it will be embarrassing going business class if I go back. That rule is gone. Dare to be expensive. You have to dare to be expensive in business. People think you can fight on price. It's not a good idea unless you have an extremely efficient distribution mechanism. Then shareholders will be happy. It cannot be avoided. It comes in that direction. It comes on the top with customers, employees, all the way down. People forget it. People set shareholders first and it doesn't work or becomes short-sighted. Then how we did it. When Wayne Gretzky, he was the best hockey player on the world for 8 years in a row, I think. And he was not very good in anything. He was not good at skating, he was not good at shooting, he had very bad precision on his shots, and yet he was best in the world for 8 years in a row. And someone asked him, how come you're so good? And I said, I don't skate where the puck is, I skate where the puck is going to be. And that is very much about business in high tech and things, because what we develop today reaches the markets 3 or 4 years down the road, and things move fast. So we have to be good at predicting where things are going. And then you have to have that good engineers who can see where things will be. And then you do mistakes and you try to fail fast if you do mistakes. This is Charles Darwin. People think he said the strongest survives. It's not the case. That's not what he said. He said the most adaptable survives. We have told him it was impossible, but he wouldn't listen. That's another. I'll do quotes only now for the rest, because good quotes. Leading. Build your strength. Recruit for your weaknesses. That's a big mistake. You recruit people like yourself. Ridiculous. I would get very unfriendly with myself within 5 minutes. And I don't need more of myself. I need other skills. Walk the talk, as I said. If you want people to save money, you save money yourself. This one is, if you haven't read The Prince by Machiavelli, do it. It's a very interesting book. It's very short, written in the 1400s, and people think that he only kills people. No, it's one of the best management books I've ever read. The wise man does it once, what the fool does finally. Tell that to our government. Take decisions, fail fast. You have to try things, but make sure you fail, and then you decide, okay, didn't work. Not too early, but reasonably fast. This one I love. Winston Churchill, success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. He had great quotes, especially champagne, actually. That's not for now. Take advice from experience. Kalle was on our board, very important. Also, Uno Alfredén, unfortunately passed away since a few years back. Gave us a lot of advice when we were young. I'm trying to give that to other young entrepreneurs today, because that advice was absolutely crucial for us. This is in Swedish, but I like it anyways. Jag vill hellre att min folk ska skratta åt min sparsamhet än att gråta min slösaktighet. And also a very good quote. The core of leadership. The worst leader. This is from Sun Tzu. It was written 500 years before Christ, and the only thing people organized in that time was for war. Otherwise, you were farmers, but you organized for war. So it was written by Sun Tzu, who wrote a manual for Chinese warfare 2,500 years ago. The worst leader of all is a leader who's despised by the people. The second worst leader is a leader who's feared by the people. The second best leader is a leader who's loved by the people. And the best leader is a leader who people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, we did it all by ourselves. That is how they wrote 2,500 years ago, and it's still valid today. And that's how we try to run the company as much as we can. This is another quote, my last one. And we put that, I give this to Philips when I meet them now and then. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Okay, thank you very much. It was short, but a little about culture.